Modern animism makes the oldest spiritual belief easy for today's seekers to understand, practice, and live. Stay tuned and grow with us.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in this week to Modern Animism Radio. We've been back on the air since the new year, and I appreciate everyone who tunes in, all the new listeners, and all the ones who have been here since the very beginning. Our audience demographics are really different this time around. We're in 52 countries. Woo woo! That's really amazing. So, I suppose it's only natural that someone would ask if I offer a class in animism or workshops. And the quick answer to that is no, kind of. I'm going to explain why in this episode and also tell you how you can learn to walk the animist path in a way that's meaningful and authentic to you. But first, let's give gratitude to the elements. Acknowledge and thank the element of earth for providing us with a home, for the foundation beneath our feet, and for qualities like diligence and grounding that keep us going through life's hard times. Acknowledge and thank the air for the ideas that inspire us and for the communication from the spirit realm that supports us. Acknowledge and thank the fire for passion, purification, and the destruction of things whose time has come. Acknowledge and thank the water for emotions that balance our head and for keeping us in contact with the great mystery so that we can truly be the humans who stand between heaven and earth as nature intended. I give thanks to the plants who nourish and heal us. I give thanks to the animals who clothe and feed us. I thank the mineral kingdom that provides us technology and healing. I thank the ancestors and the spirit guides for guiding us and keeping us in touch with our spiritual essence so we don't forget ourselves. And I thank all of you for sharing this adventure with me. If you receive wisdom, entertainment, or any value from the podcast, please consider giving back by writing a review, sharing the podcast, or just saying hey in the comments. I appreciate that. All right. So I love that so many people are finding their way to animism. I think that it's a very natural fit because we are nature. Nature's us. It's like saying, I'm home. All life is a mirror for each other. And if you are in tune with yourself, you can't look at the clouds or the night sky and not see yourself looking back. If your heart is open, you can't see someone suffer and not feel their pain too. I was driving to work the other morning and I looked up and I saw this bald eagle flying by. And bald eagles are always spectacular. And as I was watching, I thought to myself, how free he is. He's got wings to go wherever he wants. He has feathers to protect him from the cold and wind. And if he looks down, he can probably see plenty of fish, mice, and bunnies to eat. The Creator has given him everything. And then I thought to myself, the Creator has given me different things, but I am provided for in the same way. Any limitations are self-imposed or imposed by my culture. And it's true. We're all as free as that eagle. We don't have to have an SUV, a private school for our kids, or a vacation in Tahiti or anything. We're all as free as we want to be. We have the fire, water, wind, and earth to provide for us. And nobody can give you that. That's truth. It's yours to discover or not. You see, animism is not a revealed religion. This is where God comes down in a shower of light or as a vision or something and tells a prophet, this is what I want you to do. And this is the right way to live and believe. No. Animism is a spiritual path where we're not separate from the Creator or any of creation. We see the truth by looking at nature and allowing it to reflect back at us. In other words, it's personal. It's experiential. Nobody can give it to you. Nobody can teach it to you. It's a feeling that comes from your heart. And our path here is sovereignty, connection, and oneness, meaning you do you first. Go on your hero's journey. Figure out who you are. Heal yourself if you need to, so you can come back to the community whole and can connect. That's the second step. Lots of people want to find someone to complete them. No, you're already whole. Be whole. Connect from that space. And when you do that, you will feel the oneness that is always here. You're not separate. But now that I've said that, I can tell you that I've gone to a cultural school. We all learn American culture by living in America. And if you live somewhere else, you learn that culture from living where you live. But If you're an ethnic minority, you don't have that experience because you aren't surrounded by the people who speak your native language, eat your native food, observe your customs, and things like you do. So there's schools for that. If you're Chinese, there's probably a Chinese school. If you're Hindu, there's probably a Hindu school, or maybe it's a church or a temple, but there is some way that you can learn the stories and the histories that give practices and beliefs context and meaning. I've been to two cultural schools that provided that type of knowledge, and I appreciated all that I learned, and I learned a lot, but I don't teach that either for the same reason why it was of limited use to me. The things that I learned were from a specific culture that is not the culture that I belong to here and now. It's largely from a time that is not now. While I think that history and traditions are super important, animism is a living spiritual path. It's about this time and this place. My mom was born into an animist culture. I don't live in my mom's village. Her childhood geography and climates are not my geography and climate, so I can't practice the things they do because some of them are illegal here. I don't live like my cousins do. And I can't do some of the rituals they do, like funerals, without the support of people because it's communal. Every animist culture that I know of is the same way. Animism isn't a solo practice. It can't be because everything is connected and a part of life. I can feel what the stars are doing because they're part of me. When the snow flies, that's part of me too. When someone dies, their life and death are part of me. So when people get together to mourn that loss and sing them home, we do that together. We do that as a community, but those songs only have meaning if you are from that village and are from that ancestral line. I can't give you my songs, my family, or my culture. Animism is personal. It has meaning within the context of our individual life stories. It's like a tapestry of all that is, was, and ever will be, and your corner is just a small part of it. It's all related and connected, but you may not see that from where you stand. Your part is relevant to you. When we go to school in America, we have a curriculum that is the same for everyone in that school system. We learn to go directly from A to B and repeat what the teacher says. Curiosity, exploration, and questions are discouraged. There's a right and wrong answer. If you aren't getting it, you're slow, dumb, or behind the power curve. It's a masculine linear way of learning that isn't natural and isn't animism. And yet, that's the Western approach to learning animism. We want someone to tell us what we need and what to think. The teacher prescribes meanings, sets down procedures and beliefs, and then we treat it all like dogma. And while it may look like they've captured it from an outsider perspective, that's totally a nightmare before Christmas approach. It's like when Jack Skellington goes to Christmas Town and tries to figure out what makes Christmas magical. He puts these things under microscopes and subjects them to formulas and tries to define and codify all aspects of it to duplicate it, mass market it, and make it his own. And in the process, he almost destroys it. Animism is a personal relationship with the all that is that flows from your experience, understanding, and relationships. If you have no experience, understanding, or relationship with yourself, others, or nature, maybe because of trauma, your understanding is going to be limited. And the healthier your lens is, the more beautiful what you see will be. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you're ugly and combative in life, your spiritual practice will be too. If you're open and loving, your spiritual practice will be too. So if you can't learn animism from a class or take a cookie cutter approach to it, how do you learn animism? Well, the first thing I would say is to empty your cup. There's a Zen story about how a scholar came to a temple to learn about Zen. Every time the master started to speak, the scholar contradicted and spoke over him, and he wouldn't let him talk. So the master poured his tea and kept pouring until the tea was overflowing in the cup. The scholar watched for a second and then said, "Stop, stop, your cup is already full." And the master said, "Exactly. You're just like this cup, full of your own ideas. Before you can learn anything, you must first empty your cup." When I was young, I heard the saying, "When the teacher is ready, the master will come." And I kept waiting for this wonderful mentor to pour herself into me. And that's not how animism works. If you ever work with an indigenous elder, it's a side by side walk. They will wait until you're present to begin. They will wait for you to ask the questions before giving you the answer. And they may give you a riddle for an answer because there's no point in talking to a person who isn't listening and attentive, and you won't hear what you're not ready to hear because life is paradoxical. If you're in an animism class and it's step by step, I'd wonder if you're really learning about animism. I see all kinds of people talking about animism as about tarot cards, witchcraft, rituals, shamanism, or ancestor veneration. Maybe your practice is, and maybe it isn't. But keep in mind the quote from the Tao that says, "Those who know it do not speak about it. Those who speak about it do not know it." The deeper your understanding of it is, the harder it is to capture in words. It's a felt sense, an experience. Also remember the Taoist saying that the finger points to the moon, and don't confuse the finger for the moon. I think that's a lot of what's going on when people focus on what's visible rather than what's internal and felt. Can you give someone the experience of feeling one with the stars? How about the feeling of holding a newborn baby or a puppy for the first time? Or tasting a fresh wild strawberry that you found in a field? Life is in those moments. It's meant to be experienced, not ritualized. And because of the nature of yin and yang, whatever you try to tell someone will only be true sometimes. Every truth contains an untruth. So, how will you understand a complementary dualistic world with words? So, forget about rituals and anything else that you've read about. Empty your cup and observe nature. Stay with it past the point of boredom until you're fully present with it and let life unfold before you. You could be watching an ant carry a leaf, listening to the gurgling of the river, or feeling the wind flowing through your hair. It doesn't really matter. Just be one with it and let that experience take you where it will. Give yourself up to it. Linger for minutes, hours, or days. Then let it go. And that's how you will learn what animism is, because that's the practice of living mindfully. I created a podcast called What Does It Look Like to Let It All Go? And it's a podcast about how my mom moves in the world. She's the most mindful person I've ever seen. She's my inspiration. When you learn to be here now, you body animism just like she does. So be present with the rocks, the trees, or your dog. Everything is energy, and if you sit with it, it may reveal itself to you. If you linger longer, you will connect to that energy because of the law of resonance. You'll feel its vibration. It'll get to know yours, and through that experience, you can see yourself mirrored back in some way because you are that thing and it is you. The more you do this, the more you will grow in compassion. So instead of saying things like protect the rainforest and don't eat meat, maybe you'll have compassion for those who cut down trees and for the trees that are cut down. Because love doesn't control. Animism is not a battle for people to think as you do. It's not a rule to follow or a virtue to uphold so that you're better than someone else. It's being at peace and one with what is, in my experience. A daily practice of meditation, silent retreats, pilgrimage, spiritual travel are all great ways to be still and connect with nature. I offer all of these actually. We've been doing Meditation Mondays since the beginning of 2024. It's free and anyone can join. The event posting is in my private group and in the YouTube posting in the community section. And we had a silent retreat in February. We might do that again. We have 2 pilgrimages coming up. You can learn about what's going on from my Twitter, Instagram, the YouTube community page, newsletter, or the private community if you're interested. And those links are all in the show notes. And I recommend that everyone have a regular meditation practice. It's a way to empty your cup daily. I've actually been teaching animism through example for the past 20 years on my spiritual tours and retreats because animism is communal. Now, was it intentional? We all just show up as we are, you know? We'd go on these high vibration places or to these high vibration places, and I thought, wow, these are such amazing places. I feel so high. And that high would last for almost a year, and then we'd have to go again. And it took me a while to realize that that was not what was going on at all. Did the places and vibration have something to do with it? Yeah, of course. But that wasn't the totality of it. I bring stability and protection and grounded earth energy to the group so that the people feel safe to relax, to be, to receive, and to share themselves. Everyone feels free to share their best self in that space because it becomes a community that is in harmony and is natural. So that's how humans are meant to live. But as creatures who live between heaven and earth, there's always this battle between the polarities of our nature. Are we going to live in fear or love? The demands of the body mean that we have to pursue safety and food and things like that and can't live in a space of meditation. And living animism is about moving towards that sweet spot between our animal and spiritual natures. It's not too physical, analytical, emotional, or spiritual. It's all of it. Another way to capture the essence of animism is through the archetypes. Archetypes capture the human experience in all its facets. Within them, the yin and yang are embodied. We can call these things toxic masculinity and femininity, but they're all really just natural. The light and the dark are natural. Extremes aren't healthy, but nature balances. Excess yin leads to yang, and vice versa. Now, I've been talking a lot about the Tao today, and that's another way to see animism. Taoism isn't animism, but truth is truth, regardless of the container. It's just another way of speaking about it and understanding it. Stories like myth, folklore, and fairy tale are also great ways to explore animism, which is why I talk about them here. When you see beneath the surface, you will see the archetypes, symbols, and metaphor, and that is a language of spirit, not words. This is really important because marketing is king and everybody has something to sell, and spirituality is not for sale. Spirituality belongs to everyone because it's who we are, it's free, and it's everywhere. This is not the same thing as saying that it's okay to learn some tribal rituals and dress up like a native somebody and set yourself up as a shaman. I think that's just silly. My acupuncturist is Korean, and he demonstrates this to me through kinesiology, which is using the muscles in your own body to see what's true. So when you're in truth, your muscles are strong. And when you're not in truth, or not in the presence of something that is resonating with you or healthy, your muscles are weak. So my acupuncturist prays to his ancestors to help him help his clients when he's working. To demonstrate the effectiveness of this, he had me ask my ancestors for help. Then he muscle tested me, and I was strong. Then he asked me to help George Bush's ancestors for help, and he muscle tested me, and I was weak. So adopting cultural practices and ancestors that you have no relationship with doesn't empower you. It's better to connect with what's yours. I hear a lot of pale skinned people say, I have no culture. Yes, you do. Everyone has culture. When you're the mainstream, it's invisible, but there is a mainstream American culture. Go to Germany or Thailand, and they will tell you what American culture looks like to them. If you think your culture or your ancestors are toxic, heal yourself. In the process of healing yourself, you will heal your ancestral line and uplift your culture. There's no such thing as free lunch. And if you don't heal yourself, you will pass your junk down the line to descendants. And I think that's why we have such a high suicide rate today. We have lived in a culture where it's too easy to distract ourselves from our pain. Video games, sex, alcohol, luxury vacations, and even healthy things like exercise and sports can give us a way to not look within. I say that, and at the same time, I see the benefits of so many people doing their own work in American culture. I see more love and hope than I've ever seen, and it's inspiring. We're tired of consumerism and superficiality. It's been excessive, and the pendulum is swinging the other way. Rather than going for austerity, reach for balance. Balance is healthy. So it's definitely not doom and gloom. I think we're on the upswing and can continue on that route if we all do our part. I think that a return to nature and animism is a great path for that. So I've said I don't have an animism class and that spirituality isn't for sale. Totally believe that. But I do have a way to learn and stay on track and have accountability. That's the temple. Now, the sanctuary is my free community where anyone can come. And think of it as social media alternative to Facebook. There's no flaming, virtue signaling, or proselytizing. It's just a place to be yourself. If you're into spiritual books, there's a free book club. We also do other types of virtual and real life gatherings, and those are posted there. The temple is for people who want to go deep. The discussion is private from the sanctuary, so it's a bit more intimate. There's a help desk where you can ask questions. From these questions come the teachings. And the teachings aren't about do this in this way, they're connected to the elements, the archetypes, and the sacred wheel. If possible, you're given a way to play with what's there so that you can experience that truth in your own body. It's really a way for you to find your own truth rather than adopt what I think and what's been true for me. Your body knows. Within this teaching space, there are things like how to do rituals, an example of rituals. So I don't completely abandon things like ritual, they have a place. But the Tao says, and I believe, when the way is lost, there's virtue. When virtue is lost, there's benevolence. When benevolence is lost, there's righteousness. When righteousness is lost, there are rituals. Rituals are the end of fidelity and honesty and the beginning of confusion. So I focus on the way, not the ritual, so that the finger pointing at the moon isn't confused with the moon. And so it can seem like we're not talking about animism at all, but we are. It's an inner world journey, not an outer one. So a few years back, I was in Wales, and I took a group there, and we were in the area that's sacred to the Druids. We were in some amazingly beautiful and legendary country, but I was wondering why it wasn't hitting me like it did the first time that I was there. And once I got home, I realized that it was because the first time I went there, I was in the South, where my great great grandmother is from. The land was calling to me. I don't have ancestors in the North, so the land wasn't calling to me. That's what I mean by truth. When you're on track, your heart and your body will resonate with it, and you'll just know. You get that through a lived experience, and that's completely different from a head knowing. Also, in the temple is a dream group. We work with dreams because it gives you the practice of seeing symbols and interpreting symbols. We're getting help from the other side all the time, and the language of spirit, the language of truth, is symbol. There are a lot of people who distort the truth for their own agenda. They want to control you, take your money, keep you in a space of fear, distract you, seduce you, whatever. If you learn to see the symbols, it makes it infinitely harder to hide the truth from you. So, dream work makes you wiser and more heart centered. There's also a once a month meeting with me where we do something experiential to feel the truth of something and to get to know ourselves and each other better. The topic changes every month and comes from discussions we're having in the group, so it's always current and relevant. Sometimes it's practical stuff like, what do you do when someone is trying to talk to you and you've already told them to leave you alone and they won't stop? Well, you get to experience that. Or sometimes it's spiritual stuff, like one time we visited the elements of air, and wow, was that amazing! We've done fire in a different context, we've done the void, so it just depends on where the group is and what we need. I also have a virtual red tent, and this is not animism, but it's a way for natural born women to explore what it means to bleed, have children, be childless, experience menopause, and go through life with a womb and breasts. We have a monthly moon circle where we connect with nature through the moon and experience our cycles. We have a monthly Things We Don't Talk About gathering where we have a guest speaker who talks for 15 to 20 minutes about something that is typically considered taboo. And then we open up the floor for people to share their experiences or ask questions. And it's a way to normalize what it means to be a woman, figure out what's healthy, and break through shame and restrictions. Within the red tent, there is a teaching space on the four feminine archetypes of maiden, mother, seductress, and crone. So even though it's not animism, it follows nature and is a heartlet space. So don't believe in weekend animist. This isn't something you can learn in a weekend or in a type of class that goes from lesson to lesson. Animism is a lifestyle. It's a lens through which we see and experience the world. Change is the only constant in life. So as soon as you think you know something, it changes. And a 5-year-old's in a different place than a 25 or a 95-year-old. So you can't have a one size fits all curriculum. Your maturity, life experiences, desires all influence what you need and what you see, and animism's personal. You don't have to know a thing about tarot cards to be an animist, yet you may be able to read the signs of nature much better than a tarot card reader. You don't have to go through elaborate rituals to speak to spirit. Think about it. If you're out driving and your car breaks down on the side of the road, you don't have an altar or an incense or any of those ritual tools, do you? Do you not ask for help? Of course not. You can just ask. And this isn't to say that rituals don't have their place. I think community rituals are amazing. There's a great way to connect and sustain a culture. I'm just saying that you can have an animist practice with that or without that, because we don't want to confuse the finger pointing at the moon with the moon itself. So I hope you've got a just about the way that I feel about it. Of course, I'm always interested in what you think and would love to hear your comments and questions in the comments, or shoot me a line. Actually, that's what most people do. I think I have a lot of introverts out there in the listening audience. So it's okay to shoot me a line too. And there's a button, if you're listening from Spotify, there's a button right there where you can chat with me. So thank you all for being here, and I'll see you next week. Ciao.